Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by Anthropic and their AI model, Claude. And now, on to the show. What's up, folks? It's Nick Buggs, your host of the Make It podcast. But before we get started today, I want you to do something with me. I want you to do a simple exercise. And I know you've seen this type of thing before. We're going to do it here today because we haven't done it on the podcast before. I want you to just close your eyes and imagine a very simple situation. Very simple scenario, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes and you're going to imagine, okay, I'm closing my eyes, probably need to open them. Imagine that you get invited to your parents' house for dinner, okay? You drive to their house, you pull up in the driveway. You get out of your car, you walk up the sidewalk to the house. You knock on the door or you ring the doorbell. Wait a couple seconds. A couple seconds later, your dad opens the door. Pow! He hits you right in the face and he says, "Hey, put your dukes up." Okay, open your eyes. Can you imagine a situation like that? You were just going for dinner and your dad wants to tell you how to be prepared for a fight. Okay, now, why am I asking you to do this? I'm asking you to do this because I was put in that same situation recently, and not by my parents. They love me. They wouldn't do something crazy like that, but by a filmmaker. Okay? Not for real. I'm going to get to that in a second. So let me get back to this. If you are not familiar with this podcast, the Make It podcast, I am your host, Nicholas Buggs, and normally I would be here with you with my friend and co-host, Chris Barkley, and producer Papa Bear. But Chris and PB are out of the country. They're hanging out in Italy doing Italian things, having, as Clara Huxtable would say,
having big fun
without me. It's all good. I love them. I still do. It's fine. I'm good. Golden. Also, if you're familiar with this podcast, you know that we normally have a guest that joins us. And today, we have no guest. It's just me. It's just crazy. Now, we were supposed to have a guest, and the guest's name is Oscar Boyson. That's that filmmaker that I was just talking about. The guy that did the thing to me, just popped me right in the mouth. Not literally, but figuratively. Okay? Now, he's not here because he is in the UK. Why is he in the UK? Because he's promoting his film, Our Hero, Balthazar. Now, I forgive him for that. That's what he should be doing. Right? He'll get a chance to come hang out with me and Chris and PB another time. But right now, he's doing what he needs to be doing, and he's out there promoting his film. Okay, now, we've done all that, right? We did the little scenario where you close your eyes, and I scared the crap out of you when I yelled in your face. And I told you who I am and about this podcast and our guest that is not here, but I'm going to talk about him. And his name is Oscar Boyson. So let me give you a quick bio on Oscar Boyson, the guest that's not here, because he's doing the right thing and he's promoting his film. Now, Oscar Boyson is an acclaimed independent filmmaker and producer, making his feature directorial debut with Our Hero Balthazar, which is one of the year's most talked about independent films. Before stepping behind the camera, Oscar built an impressive career producing acclaimed films, including Frances Ha and Uncut Gems, collaborating with some of the industry's most distinctive voices, including Noah Baumbach and the Safdie brothers. Co-written by Ricky Camilleri, Our Hero Balthazar premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival and has drawn praise for its fearless blend of dark comedy, social satire, and psychological drama, tackling themes of online culture, performative activism, masculinity, and even gun violence with remarkable originality. Okay, that's Oscar Boyson. So let's get to this thing where he popped me in my face and I didn't realize it because I was coming for dinner. I watched this movie and I had the feeling of being popped in the face because I wasn't ready for what I got. I thought I was having dinner. I thought I was going to come hang out with my parents and have a good time and enjoy myself. And I got hit right in the mouth when I opened the door. Now, that seems like I didn't like it, right? That kind of shows you like, hey, bait and switch, they knocked me in my face. But I can't say that there was a bait and switch here, but I wasn't expecting what I got. Okay. Now, I guess I need to tell you what this film is about, and I'm going to read just no spoilers because I'm not trying to spoil your experience other than telling you that I got hit in the face. But here's what our hero Balthazar is about. It's a bold, darkly comedic psychological drama that follows Balthazar, a privileged New York City teenager whose desire to impress his activist crush leads him down an increasingly unpredictable path. Convinced that an anonymous online acquaintance may be planning an act of mass violence, touchy subject, Balthazar embarks on a cross-country journey to Texas, believing he can become the hero of the story. What begins as a satirical look at social media, performative activism, and the search for identity evolves into a tense, emotionally layered exploration of connection, loneliness, and the complicated realities facing young people in modern America. Blending biting humor with genuine suspense, our hero Balthazar challenges audiences to question the narratives we create about ourselves and the ones we project onto others. Okay. So let me explain myself. I think it all comes down to what my expectations were and what our general expectations are when we're going to sit down to watch a movie. I wasn't expecting what I got, so it totally caught me off guard. And at first, I want to tell you, I'm going to be honest, I was like, I don't like this, man. Like, I don't know what's going on here. This isn't, I don't like it. Okay, caveat. I actually like the film. I think that they did a great job. It's a great movie. To be honest, if you're looking at it and you're being objective and you're not in your feelings about the content, then you're like, they did a great job. And I was able to get to that point after being shocked that I got punched in the face because I sat back and tried to be objective about what just happened and not go back to the fact that I thought I was going to sit and have a lovely dinner. I think when I started watching the movie, I was like, oh, okay, happy endings. We're going to resolve things. We're going to, make it all work out. This is more like how we want things to be in the world. Whereas what the film really is like holding a mirror to our reality. And to be honest, that's uncomfortable. And I think that that's the point. It's like not just to sit with discomfort or to make me uncomfortable, but to introduce me to a reality that may not be my own, that actually may be the reality of some, let's say, young person out there in the world who's living this life or is affected by this situation. And a lot of this it surrounds like, social media and activism and belonging, things that I would say people in their 20s and maybe even younger are really, I wouldn't say struggling with, but they're dealing with today. So as I'm watching it, not being in my 20s anymore and not necessarily struggling with or dealing with these things, it was a bit of a shock to me. I wasn't expecting that. I can't even imagine some of the situations that were in this movie being reality. But when I step back and just think about that, I'm like, yo, is this legitimately somebody's reality? That's scary. So the protagonist in the film initially engages with gun violence primarily to improve his social standing and impress a classmate. The film critiques social media activism, virtue signaling, and the pursuit of online validation. So that got me thinking about like how social media works. And I was doing my own like personal research, right? Personal scientific studies and experiments with my own social media. And I just started searching for specific things, specifically in Instagram. That's the primary one that I use. And I noticed that as soon as I searched for one thing, I would go to my feed and like that one thing just took over. Like that's all of a sudden, that's all I saw. Like all the stuff that I was looking at before was almost completely gone. All right, now I search for the next thing. Go back to the feed. What's going on, man? It's like all the new thing over and over and over again. And it started to make me wonder. I was like what's the impact of social media? Like what's the most true? I actually asked you guys. I put a poll out on YouTube and I asked a very simple question with 2 potential answers. So this, my friends, is our audience poll for today. Okay? All based on my viewing of Oscar Boyson's film, Our Hero, Balthazar. So the audience poll for today is, which one is the most true about social media? I gave 2 options. Option A, it broadens your horizons. Option B, it makes you more of what you are. And you all responded 79%, it broadens your horizons. 21% said it makes you more of what you are. And that may be true, right? Social media opens up all sorts of stuff to you, whether it's on Instagram, X, TikTok, whatever. Like you have access to so much stuff and people can send you stuff, right? And you can watch that on YouTube. You can watch that on IG. You can watch that on X. You can watch it wherever. So it can broaden your horizons. I get it. But man, that IG algorithm had me doubling and tripling down on like one thing. So I was thinking about the impact of something like that. Like what if you're watching something or your friends send you something and all of a sudden, social just wants to send it to you over and over and over again, and you consume it over and over and over again, and then that's like the only thing you consume. And then you start to make that your identity because you can't help but consume it. It's almost like an addiction. You're addicted to this thing that is telling you who to be or who you are, and you're not able to get out of it. It creates this cycle of, I guess, continual affirmation on the thing that you're now consuming. And I feel like that's part of what this film is addressing. It's like virtue signaling, trying to be part of a community because that's how you identify. And you just have to keep feeding that beast, and it keeps feeding you back, and you keep feeding with your attention, and it keeps feeding you more stuff. And it's crazy to think that a lot of, I would say, people in their early 20s and younger who have access to social are really just they're not getting access to other things. They're not necessarily looking at other things, but they're being fed the same thing over and over and over again. And what's the impact? Especially if that thing they're being fed is something negative, right? Or they're doing negative things just to be accepted by some community, or doing things outside of their normal character, or doing things that otherwise might be socially acceptable, putting on a face that's not theirs, that's not real to them. It's not their true identity. It's not authentic, but they're doing it because they want that community or social belonging. Like that's what this movie really made me think about. And I'm glad that the audience said, hey, it's not really doubling or tripling down on who you are, but it's expanding your horizons. And maybe we just have some really expansive thinking audience members here, and they're not stuck in the algorithm that's feeding them the same thing over and over and over again. But I will tell you, a film like Our Hero, Balthazar does show you that, what was that, the 21%? It shows you the impact of that 21%, where it's like making the viewer, right, the user, the consumer, more of what they are by feeding them the same thing and having their identity tied to it. So if anything, and I've got just so many other reasons to watch the film and for us to actually have this conversation with Oscar Boyson soon, but just from that perspective of understanding the potential impacts of social media in different worlds. It may not be your world. You may not connect with it personally, but there might be people who are just as affected as the protagonists in this film by social media and the need for that connection. Now, I've got more about this film and, of course, Oscar Boyson and just my perspectives on a bunch of things. But before we do that, I got to, pay some homage to the folks that help us do what we do here. And those are our sponsors. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to shout out our sponsors, and then we're going to come back. All right? See you in a couple.
Hey, everybody, shout out to Anthropic for sponsoring this week's episode. Listen, running a small business is no joke and requires all hands on deck. And I'm thankful that I have Claude AI, as well as Nick, as one of those hands. It's brilliant, and nothing eats more time, by the way, than the sort of administrative dreck, the administrative glut that work in and around content creation and social media management. And now with Claude AI, it's a breeze. Teach it your brand voice, prompt it, and walk away. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and thinks with you instead of for you. So whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, if that's what you're doing, or you're just trying to figure out ideas for your next film or creative endeavor, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter. Now, we use Claude AI for the tedious jobs we don't want to do, all the way to the complex work that we have to do. And listen, it just works. It doesn't skip steps. It remembers what we like, and you can always roll back to square one if needed. Cowork, which I've just fallen in love with, brings Claude Code's agentic power to your desktop. No terminal required, so anyone can use it and have Claude to do real work. Point it to a folder in your computer, add connectors like Google Drive and Gmail, describe what you need, and it handles the rest. It connects to a bunch of other stuff too that we use like Postly and, for example, Canva, and pretty soon even Riverside. So this is just becoming better and better and better. And you can just queue up tasks and come back to finished work. And now with Dispatch, which is on your cell phone, you can send tasks from your phone to Claude and execute these tasks on your desktop while you're on the go, which is kind of like magic. So for problems worth solving, get started with Claude at claudeai.com/make-it. That's claudeai.com/make-it. Check out Claude Pro, which features all the amenities we mentioned with this app in today's episode. Again, claudeai.com/make-it. And now back to the show.
And we're back. That wasn't long. Hopefully you stuck around for that because we're always, sharing good stuff from our sponsors. But as we come back to the episode, as we normally do after this little break, I'll do a little thing called Filmmaker Q&A. But guess what? We don't have a filmmaker here as a guest, so I'm going to shift it just a little bit, and I'm going to talk some filmmaker quotes. And because our guest was supposed to be Oscar Boyson, and I'm talking about his film, I'm actually going to find some quotes, or actually I already found them, from Oscar Boyson that I'd like to just share with you and talk about. Okay, so the first one is, he says, there's a trend towards sameness and safety and familiarity that is making the movie industry a really uninteresting world to play and create and collaborate in. He says, I felt like because the industry was saying no to it, it was exactly what I should be doing. And that really fired me up. Okay. He said there's a trend towards sameness and safety and familiarity. I know we always talk about, these tentpole films that are just leveraging intellectual property and just regurgitating and recycling the same old thing, the same old tropes. Honestly, I think it's true. I think that we're seeing a lot of that. I think that there's some nostalgia in some of these things when they do them well, and we like seeing things from our childhood on the screen. We can share that with our kids. But in the theater, on the screen, it can get a little old. It's like the same thing. Again, sameness, familiarity, same stuff over and over again because maybe it fits a model, it fits a mold for getting butts in seats. But I don't think that that's what drives younger folks to the theaters anymore. They don't want to see the same thing. And I think with a film like this, it is 100% not the same, and it's not safe, and it's not familiar, at least not with me and the people I kick it with. This is 100% different. But I think it also does speak to I guess I'll say the unsafe realities that some of these folks live with. So they'd rather see that, right? They'd rather feel uneasy, or they'd rather know that some viewers are uneasy with this content than go see the same thing over and over and over again. And I'll have to say, like, I do like some of the safe and familiar. It makes me feel good, warm and fuzzy inside. But at the same time, I can't be so disconnected from reality that I'm always just, smiling and laughing at everything. Make sense? Okay. Next quote. Actors love to work, And actors love to be surprised, and actors love to challenge themselves, especially if you're in New York. Our hero, Balthazar, is a testament to the fact that a low-budget movie, if you get lucky on the timing, you can have some of the greatest actors in the world popping up in your movie. End quote. Now, he's got Noah Centineo, Asa Butterfield, and Chris Bauer, in this film. Right? You can see that this is a low-budget film, but it doesn't feel like a low-budget film. This is a theatrical film. This can stand up next to anything you're seeing right now. I'm just being honest. It might feel to some people low-budget because it feels real. It feels natural. It almost feels... It's not documentary, but it feels almost day in the life, like someone actually had a camera and was following these people around in this crazy situation that's going on in the film. Like it felt really real. And I think that independent films, they're much better at bringing these situations that might be true to form onto the screen in a way that still feels true to form. It still feels like you could have been there. That could have been your friend. That could have been your mom. That could have been your grandmother. That could have been your dad or somebody that you know's dad. Like, you can really relate to the characters in this film. And I think that when you see this, you'll understand why people like Noah Centineo wanted to be a part of this, right? This isn't a big budget blockbuster. Why would Noah Centineo, who's now in the latest Street Fighter movie, why would he want to be in this? Because it's creative, because it's edgy, because it's different. It's not safe and same and familiar. And I think what Oscar is saying here is that, like, if you want to get this echelon, right, of stars into your film, and I won't even say stars, let's just say actors, right? People who have a lot of experience, who are very good at what they do and will help you deliver your story, then bring them something worth working on, because they want to work. They want to be excited. They want to do something novel and new. Okay. Last filmmaker quote, not filmmaker Q&A as we normally do. All right, the quote. The people who are showing up for the movie are young people and people who are like, this isn't fringe. This is the reality I'm living. End quote. So again, people who are like, this isn't fringe. This is the reality I'm living. Told you earlier, when I watched this film, it felt like I got punched in the face. I got punched in the face, not by my dad when I was going to dinner. I got punched in the face by a reality that I didn't expect. And maybe it's a reality I didn't want to believe could be true. I think that was the shock to my system. I was like, what is this? Like, are you trying to tell, like, are you trying to glorify or glamorize this type of behavior? Like, no, he's not. This is real. Like, this is a reality that people actually have. I can't get upset. You're not trying to glorify, mass violence or these behaviors that the protagonist or the antagonist of the film. No. You're not doing that. This is a window into an uncomfortable reality that young people find familiar. And that's amazing to me. That's crazy, right? I see this and immediately I want to call my daughter and be like, yo, is this, like, do you relate to this? Like, you got to watch this and let me know. And if you relate to this, you and I need to have a conversation. I need to know what I don't know. Who are you hanging out with? What are you doing that makes you relate to this type of content? What's happening around you? What are you seeing on social? But you can see that what this film did for me is it opened up my eyes to something that I didn't know, but also it's going to open up a conversation. I think for people who are not 20 and have children like myself, I think you should watch it and objectively look at this film. Don't get mad and salty about stuff that makes you uncomfortable. You might need to have conversations with your kids, right? So I would say 20-somethings, but maybe even teenagers, about the things that they experience, the people that they're around, what they connect with, where they find community. It opens conversations. I think that's what discomfort does. I think when you're comfortable, there is no conversation. It's just, you get a sigh, that feeling, and you smile at the person next to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, it feels so good, and you go on with your day. But when you're uncomfortable, when you're uneasy, I think that's when you need to talk. You need to have a conversation, and that's what's happening here. So the fact that he said that the people who are showing up for this movie, for our hero Balthazar, are young people, and they don't find it fringe, but they find it to be the reality that they're living, is a very important note, especially for anyone who plans to or has seen this movie. Okay, now, next segment that we move into when we're having this show, if you're familiar already, is things we should know. Okay? But I don't have my people here with me to have fun with it, and then I'm not going to... Papa Bear did create a Things We Should Know for Oscar Boyson, but I'm not going to do that because he's not here. So we're going to do something a little bit different, but still based off of this film. So what I wanted to know was really more about this 20-something, their viewing habits. Okay, so for this Things We Should Know, I'm actually just going to give you some things you should know about the viewing habits of Gen Z. Okay, and I've got 2 different surveys that this information comes from, not an audience poll from us, but the first one, Deloitte did a digital media trends study for 2025 and 2026, and according to their study, 56% of Gen Z say social media content is more relevant to them than traditional TV or movies, with roughly half saying that they feel a stronger connection to creators than traditional actors. Second thing from the same study, Gen Z spends 54% more time on social platforms than the average consumer, and 26% less time watching traditional TV and movies. Okay, last point from this one. 53% of Gen Z and millennials report that social media provides better viewing recommendations than streaming services themselves. So why is all this important? Well, if you're a filmmaker, it's important to know that. General audience, is important to know that social media, I mean, you probably already know, but social media basically has a much stronger influence on audiences in that age, and the Gen Z and millennials, than TV and movies. Okay. Yeah, you probably already knew that. I'm giving you data to back it up. But it's important because that's not just influence for what you want to watch on television, but it's how you're supposed to act, what community you're supposed to be a part of, how you're supposed to treat your parents, how you treat friends, what you should be interested in, what you should be wearing, right? Like we're there right now. And I think that there's a reality that folks that are not in Gen Z, folks that are parents of Gen Zers and millennials, I think that there's honestly there's a gap, there's a divide, there's a lack of full awareness that this is the truth. I think for some of us, we want to hold on to TV, movies. We think that's where things are at because that's where they were for us, but it's not true. You really have to understand that it's social media that's driving attention. It's even driving folks to streaming media, driving folks to TV, driving them to movies. It's all what happens on social. And that's very important. Like I said, it's important for general audiences. It's important for filmmakers to understand that. But it's also important for parents like myself to understand that that's where the influence is really coming from these days. Okay. Second thing you should know, and this comes from Fandango movie-going study. Among Gen Z and millennials, social media is the number one way they discover theatrical releases, helping turn films into shared cultural events rather than simply entertainment. Okay, that's important, right? We already talked about social media being like the number one influencer, which is what it says here about theatrical releases and other things, but it helps turn films into shared cultural events rather than simply entertainment. And that's huge, because I think that's what drives people to the theater these days. Once upon a time, when I went to the theater, yes, there was a cultural element to it, in that you wanted to see the movie because not only because it was the next big thing that came out, but you wanted to be able to talk about it to your friends and your coworkers or whatever. And that's where movies happen. They didn't happen on streaming. They didn't happen in your pocket, right? It's like you had to go to the theater. But also that part, which is, if you wanted to watch it, you had to go. So it's almost like you had no choice but to go to the theater and then wait forever for it to come out on, I'll take you back, it'd be like, VHS and then DVD and then Blu-ray. So you had to go. Now, 20-somethings kids younger than that, they don't have to go. They can just wait for it to come on streaming. So what this is saying is that these going to the theater basically has to be a shared cultural experience to get people out of their comfort zone. Right? Get people out of their houses, off their phones, and into this place, which today, to be honest, it's expensive. It's expensive. I mean, $28 for a ticket is crazy to me. It might be the norm for people now, but it's crazy. And that's how much I just paid to go see a movie. Just letting you know. Okay. All right. So that, for you folks, was the thing we should know, really, probably something. Maybe I should name this the thing you already knew. Social media is driving the discovery of streaming media. It's driving the discovery of theatrical releases. It's driving the discovery of TV amongst Gen Z and millennials. Okay. Now, my friends, we are going to move into a segment called Clear the Set. And normally, my buddy Chris does this one, and he's so good at it. And it's kind of like a rapid fire thing that we do with our guests, and it's so much fun. Watch other episodes and you'll see it. Please do. Check us out. Watch our stuff. Listen to us. I don't know why I just did this when I said listen. Don't call us. Listen to our stuff on, podcast platforms, of course. But today I'm going to do like a little rapid fire information about independent filmmakers targeting audiences in their 20s, and how the data that I just gave you kind of backs up some of these things. Okay, so for Clear the Set, it's all about independent filmmakers targeting folks in their 20s. So the first thing, I got 4 points on this Clear the Set. The first one: discovery happens before viewing. Whether someone ultimately watches in a theater or on streaming, the decision is increasingly driven by TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Letterboxd, and creator recommendations, not studio advertising. Trailers are still awesome. You still want to see them. It's still required. You still got to do it. They're going to do it. But where you see those trailers, who delivers those trailers to you, who lets you know about those trailers and about what you should watch, is increasingly driven by influencers on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Letterboxd, and so on. All right. Bullet number 2, theater attendance is becoming event-driven. I just mentioned this about the cultural experience. Young audiences still enjoy cinema, the theater, but they're more selective now. Films that become cultural conversations or social experiences perform disproportionately well. And I would also add to that, films that are part of the social zeitgeist or are part of, I would say, viewers' experiences on streaming media, like we're seeing with a lot of things that are going from YouTube into the theaters. They perform well because they actually have a connection to the lived and daily experiences of the viewers. And those lived and daily experiences I'm talking about are those lived and daily experiences through social. So that familiarity with them, that connection they've already created, that's what's driving this kind of event-driven or cultural conversation type viewing. All right, number 3, authenticity matters. Now, In the study before, Deloitte found that younger viewers increasingly connect with creators they perceive as authentic, influencing not only what they watch, but also how they evaluate content. So again, I know we want to say influencers. I think that's a term for maybe people who are selling stuff, but I'm just going to go back and say creatives, right? Who have influence. So what viewers are saying is that they want to watch or consume content or do things that authentic creators are recommending because they believe in them. They believe them. They have what's called parasocial relationships with them. They're like their friends. If you watch somebody on YouTube long enough or on social, you feel like you know them. And because you're connected to them, they almost kind of know you. They're delivering the type of content that you like, and their recommendations are recommendations you're going to take. So increasingly so, viewers are saying, hey, if a creator that I like says that I should watch this, I'm watching it. Last thing. Streaming is expected, not exceptional. Viewers in their 20s generally assume that films will arrive on streaming quickly, making exclusive theatrical releases a tougher sell unless the experience feels unique. So they want something different. If you're going to get them to go to the theater and not wait for it to come out on streaming, you got to do something special. You got to do something unique. That's back to that social or cultural conversation, or it's like you've done something that reflects them or is, like I said, in their zeitgeist, something that is authentic to their experience. Now it's like, hey, I'm calling you. Right, I'm calling you to the theater. Not making it for everybody, but you, because you're going to connect with this. That's what they're looking for now. So streaming is expected, not exceptional, right? So you got to pull them out of their seat in order to get them in the theater. And that bullet round, as Chris says, is clear the set for today. Okay. We're close to wrapping up. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a little while. I know you're disappointed that Chris isn't here and he's not dropping some gems on you. And PB's not here with those luxurious locks of his and dropping things we should know. And Oscar's not here to be the guest in front of us that we're asking all these wonderful questions. But hopefully you've enjoyed your time with me today. And as I said, it's closely coming to an end. But before we do that, we're going to have our segment, right? The segment that we use to close out every show, which is our Make It segment, where we ask our guest, what does it mean to make it? But Oscar's not here. I told you that already. So I was actually watching this thing with Matt Damon the other day, and I like what the guy has to say. You might know him from a couple of movies. I'm not going to get into that. You should know. If you don't, look him up, watch all of his stuff. Amazing guy. Amazing guy for many reasons, on screen and off screen. Water.org, amazing organization. But I wanted to know what was his definition of success, and someone actually asked him that. They didn't say, what does it mean to make it, but they said, what is your definition of success? And I am going to read his quote. Okay, so, and I quote, "It's the work. It's the process itself. I have done enough movies now, movies that have failed and movies that have been successful. All we have as the people making it is the love of the doing it. I'm aware of the results because I have to be. It has an impact on my career, so I can't be ignorant of the movies that I'm doing. But it's really about feeling that I did my best work, the best work I could do under the circumstances. Feeling that we told the story we wanted to tell in the way we wanted to tell it. That's really the definition of success." It's awesome. Oh, end quote. That's awesome part. That was me. So that's great. I love it. It's the love. Let me go back to it. All we have as the people making it is the love of the doing it. And that's what we're all about. And we named our podcast after that, right? Make it. That's it. Do it. It's the process, right? It's the love of doing this thing. It's the love of making content, making art. It's the love of connecting with people through our art. That's it. That's all we have. That's the thing that drives us to be here by ourselves on a podcast that's supposed to have a bunch of people and a guest, and be here with you today because I love what I do. And I love making art. I love creating. I love learning new things. I love becoming a better version of myself. It is the process. It isn't the end. There's so many ends, right? We make so many things. We make so many podcast episodes. We make so many films. We make so many mistakes. We make so many friends. And we'll just continue to do. There's no end when you're creative. There's no end when you're an artist. So it is the journey. So I'm 100% with you, my friend, Matt Damon, which, hey, if you're watching this, you hear your name, come on the show. Come hang out with us. We would love it. We'd appreciate it. We'd love to ask you, what does it mean to make it, and see if you say the same thing or if you add a little bit more color, a little bit more spice to that response. All right. That's Make It. And we love Matt Damon and what he's done. And again, I'm going to plug water.org, an amazing organization. Look it up. And with that, my friends, I'm going to close out this show. Before I do that, I'm going to have to tell you, please, I know you're watching, you're listening, but tell your friends. Tell your friends to find us on social _ the Make It Podcast. Just look for the Make It Podcast. You'll find us, right? Look for us on YouTube. Tell them to look for the podcast, look for the show. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Share this with people, please, because we're dropping gems here, diamonds, knowledge, gold, whatever you like. We're dropping it. We're having amazing conversations with filmmakers across the industry who are giving us such amazing insights. They're sharing their experiences with us, and we give that back to you. That's why we created this platform. So we always have to say, please, subscribe, follow, like, share, comment. If you're on the podcast platforms, go ahead and just, give us a review. 5-star that joint, give us a review. Tell us how you feel. We'd appreciate it. Okay. It means the world to us. It means the world to the audience that we're trying to reach. So just take a couple seconds out of your time and make it happen. Like what I did there, make it happen. And with that, I have to say to our filmmaking friends, fans, family, and followers out there, as I close out the show, as I always do, my friends, be better, be creative, be engaged. And for those on the podcast platforms, thank you for listening. Those who are watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. And to Chrissy B, PB out there hanging out in lovely Italy, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Can't wait till you come back and we can do this again together and have big fun on the Make It Podcast. So with that, folks, gotta say, peace, be kind. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will see you next time. Laters.